Well, Bitcoin is going up today, and why? There's a pretty simple reason for this. Remember, Bitcoin is always inverse to the long-term treasury rates, and there is a very good reason for that, because they're directly competitive with each other as a financial product. And the long-term treasury rates did come down today from 4.2 to 4.0. Now, that might be a very small drop, but it's significant enough to actually shift the balance of money one way or the other. If people want to invest in something to get an ROI, if they're not investing in risky assets like Bitcoin, they're going to be they're basically going to be investing in safer assets like long-term treasuries, and the shift from 4.2 to 4.0 could actually signal a longer-term shift downwards because the Fed might actually be stopping the interest rate hikes. But it also immediately shifts some money from one to the other, as a 4.0 interest rate is less attractive than a 4.2 one, and this is over 10 years, obviously. Right now, we have an inverted bond yield. What that means is the short-term rates are higher than the long-term rates, because long-term, people expect the rates to actually come down, whereas short-term, it's basically what it is right now. However, if the Fed does not raise rates in September and starts talking about bringing down the rates come next year, then I do believe that crypto will actually go up, regardless of what the rest of the market does. As long as the rates come down, that makes crypto a lot more attractive to investors than bonds. Right now, you can get bonds, short-term bonds. I don't know exactly how much. I think they're like 4 or 5%. And long-term bonds, you can get 4%. That's still fairly attractive to a lot of investors that want to be safe. And most people want to be fairly safe. So based on that, I think we can actually expect some really, really good things as the Fed stops hiking and as the Fed starts taking rates down. But if you're wondering why crypto all of a sudden went up a couple hundred points today, which isn't really that much, that's why it is right now, I believe, because the bond rates actually did come down and they're less attractive now to people than they were just yesterday. So that's very, very good news for us. Other things that's good news for us is that big banks have gotten downgraded. Well, it's the smaller banks that got downgraded, but there's several big banks, including Bank of New York Mellon, that's actually on the chopping block to actually get downgraded. Obviously, less trust in banks and the financial system means more people will flow into alternative assets like crypto. And why are they actually getting downgraded? Well, it's because of Jerome Powell and the interest rates, obviously. These little banks and even bigger ones are feeling the pinch from interest rates as people don't really want to borrow money and as they find it harder to borrow money. And that is the lifeblood of a business of a bank, borrowing money and then lending it out at higher interest rates to people. If no one wants to loan money, then they're in trouble. If they can't get easy money, they're also in trouble as well. So the thing is, like, the Fed is screwing everything up, and eventually they're going to have to look towards the economy. If these banks actually start failing again, they're going to have to stop raising interest rates. And once they stop raising interest rates, people will actually want to borrow money. They'll be more confident in the crypto market, especially when they start taking down the interest rates. People will start borrowing money and buying into crypto again. Then that is a big part of the liquidity. See, part of the reason for the liquidity is because problem right now is because people are not confident in the market. But the other one is a lot of people in crypto did actually borrow money to buy crypto. And right now with super high interest rates, they're not willing to do that. I mean, I am against anyone borrowing money to actually make crypto investments. Borrowing money to make speculative investments, generally not a great idea because you're going to be paying interest. And right now you're going to be paying pretty high interest. Once that interest rate becomes lower, people are going to be way more willing to do it. And therefore, I think we're going to get more money flow into crypto. So it's kind of like a double whammy. Like, the Fed does need to lower the interest rates to make sure their banks don't actually die. Because like when you have like BNY Mellon maybe getting a downgrade from Moody's, that's when you have to look really hard at your policy and make sure you don't crash the entire system, which is not the Fed's goal. The Fed goal is for a soft landing. And I think we're actually going to get that. But they will actually turn it around and raise lower interest rates come next year. And right now, I think we're seeing the beginning of the effects of that. Plus, we have that Bitcoin halving and the ETF approval all pending around that time. So I think, as the months go on, as we get towards April, we will see some bullish movement. I don't think they'll actually raise the interest rates next month. If they do, it'll be their last hike. But I do think the last hike was last month, basically. And since they're actually not hiking it again, once that's actually confirmed, I believe that we will actually go up. Speaking of ETF approval, BlackRock insiders say that the spot ETF could come in as little as 4 to 6 weeks. That's right. Spot ETF 4 to 6 months. And that actually is kind of like equal to what we've been actually talking about on the channel. 4 months from now, it would be December, 6 months from now, from February. And we know like the deadlines for those are between January and March. So that falls right within that timeline. And BlackRock insiders know more than the rest of us. So I do think an ETF will actually get approved sometime early next year. I really can't see the SEC turning down both BlackRock and Fidelity on their ETFs. And if they do turn them down, let's not forget, they're actually being sued by Grayscale, and the judge was not very impressed by the SEC's arguments against Grayscale. And I do really rather think that the SEC would rather have BlackRock and Fidelity ETFs to deal with rather than Grayscale ETFs to deal with, because I don't think they're winning that lawsuit. And for those of you who think the SEC is invincible in lawsuits, let's not forget they did just lose the Ripple lawsuit because XRP was declared not a security. And right now, from the sentiment of the judges in the Coinbase lawsuit, they're not doing too well in that lawsuit either. So I think they've basically been shattered in terms of their invincible record in crypto for the SEC, because some of the courts are definitely turning against them. But 4 to 6 months does fall within that time frame that I do actually believe that that was my prediction as well, sometime like early next year. Now, Cathie Wood has actually said that she does think like the next deadline, which is August 14th, she says, and I agree with her, that the SEC will delay. I think it's almost 100% certain that the SEC will delay that deadline, because the SEC likes to drag things out for as long as possible before they have to approve them. They will do that with the ARK Invest thing, but my guess is at the same time, if they actually allow one of these ETFs through, they're going to allow all of them through in short order, because if they allow one of them through, there's no reason they wouldn't actually allow the rest of them actually through. But they're just trying to extend it for as long as possible. Even without the ETF, I do think we're actually going up. But with the ETF, with the big banks being downgraded, with the 10-year treasury rates coming down, I definitely think Bitcoin's going to go for a run, maybe end of this year, beginning of next year. And remember, it has to get to about 50,000 by halving time. Otherwise, the mining doesn't really make that much sense. So I do think 4 to 6 months for an ETF coincides with just about everything else. You could say it's all planned out, but they are accumulating at the same time. And I do believe that's when we're going to get that big pump. In other news, Sora-Mitsu, which is a Japanese company, they're doing cross-border remittance with stablecoins. Now, they got Japan, Korea, Thailand, and a couple of other countries in Southeast Asia basically on this kind of pilot, on this kind of product. It is with a CBDC and stablecoins. I don't think it uses any crypto network or any cryptocurrency. So it could definitely be a cross-border challenger to XRP and XLM. There have been a lot of products in the last year or two that basically are with CBDCs using blockchain, but not necessarily using crypto for instant payment and settlement. So there's going to be a lot of competition in that area, especially with the local corridors within Southeast Asia, because they all seem to have like their own little projects coming up that actually do like what Ripple or XLM Stellar actually want to do. So we'll have to see how that actually works out. They didn't really mention working with any specific crypto or technology provider. I think it is their own thing. Also, we have the PayPal stuff today, and they're going to be in cross-border because PayPal does actually do cross-border. They launched it on Ethereum. But I think they're going to go multi-chain or going to go multiple L2 as well, just so people can actually use it without the super high fees. Because PayPal is not dumb. They know how technically deficient Ethereum actually is, and they know they can't really run it on the Ethereum blockchain. So Sora-Mitsu, check that out in Japan if you're interested in the remittance game. I do actually think they are just building off their own technology, their own blockchain, and they're definitely doing it with, like CBDCs and cross-border transfer for that area of the world, which will actually be really, really big for the remittance market. Because a lot of people send money from Japan back to the lower wage countries. Same thing with China, and same thing with Taiwan now. And the Sora-Mitsu is definitely targeting that area. HBAR, I think, is also kind of like targeting that area. So there's going to be a lot of competition there. Epic and Dota seems to actually be getting into the metaverse. We knew about Epic Games for a while before this, and they're really looking at metaverse. Obviously, they're really afraid of integrating because they don't want a bunch of blowback from the gaming community. Dota, I can see that being successful. Like League of Legends and Dota, they can make a ton of money selling skins. And I don't really think it would really matter if those skins were actually NFTs as well, or unique NFTs. I think those games actually make the most money selling skins. And if like a unique skin was an NFT, I think that would actually be pretty cool. So I can see a game like Dota making NFTs very, very successful and making crypto very, very successful. It's just that gamers have such blowback when they're actually talking about crypto and gaming. They don't like pay to play, but this really wouldn't be pay to play. Riot already has Riot points, so you're basically just replacing it with another token or crypto. And I think that would actually be pretty cool, and it would really help the metaverse gaming. But it's good to see big gaming companies coming into this. We need their talent, and we need their developers game developers in. Like, crypto companies have developers, but they're not really game developers, and the games they make generally kind of suck, and they're not really fun. And that's a big, big problem. These guys, they know how to make games. They know how to integrate crypto into games. They know how to integrate NFTs into games. And if they actually integrate NFTs into like Dota, into League, into Rocket League and stuff like that, I think that will make crypto in games and NFT in games go up way, way faster than any of these crypto gaming companies could. So Epic and Dota getting the metaverse, definitely really good news. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe, hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.